So 3 things. The first one is that bring something as a backup in pretty much every area. So what I had on this shoot was I wanted to do a lob on my subject and then shotgun on the camera. What eventually ended up happening was that my lob failed. I was unaware of that because I was shooting and I was doing all the other stuff because I'm a solo shooter on this one. And I didn't have any of that audio for the interview for anything. And this guy's an amazing storyteller. You can see it and you can feel it in the video. He tells these wonderful stories and he's got such great experiences and they're so engaging. I mean, I could pretty much just not have any cuts and just let him talk for like 30 minutes. Because he did. He talked for like the entire process of walking around. He's an amazing dude. And so, but I didn't have any audio. If I just would have been relying on that lav. And so I had this shotgun on the FX6, was able to capture all the audio you hear in the video. I'll screen the video at the end of this thing so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And it turns out really, really nice. So bring contingencies. Secondly on that, I'm going to talk about lenses. I wanted to shoot this thing on primes, as I'd mentioned in a previous video, and it didn't work out that way. The bees were kind of fussy in the morning, and it was a little colder than it had been. And so if you know anything about bees, they are in charge. And so if I was going to shove a prime lens this far from their face early in the morning when they're not feeling super great and they don't know who I am, I got new smells. And so they're like, okay, not the best idea. So I had the 24-70 as a contingency. It's a 2.8 versus a 2.0. So separation wasn't quite as dense, but that's okay. I don't mind. I would rather get the shots and have the safety than stick to something and get everything fall apart. So that's something else. Just bring contingencies in every area, audio, video, electrical, whatever. Have a backup. Number 1 tip. Number 2 tip, take a risk. So this shoot the shoot wasn't supposed to happen. So this shoot was a thing where I was flying to LA for a film festival because I had a film in the festival in Pasadena, and I was just like, hey man, I'm going through all the trouble. I'm going to be flying out there. Why not reach out to these folks who I know, who are great people, and see if they want to do anything for their business. They did. We jumped into it. We carried a great narrative arc through their story, just to raise awareness about who they are and what they're doing and do it in a really cinematic way. I think that a lot of mid-level businesses are missing out on storytelling because they're not showcasing themselves as seriously as they could be as far as the storytelling aspect in the world goes. You know, if you know anything about marketing, it's not you telling the story about how great you are. It's having someone in an authority figure tell you that story. And we've been wired in America especially to take cinema at that piece and be like, oh, well, this was a very cinematic piece. They must be the thing that I think that they are. Okay, if you see another little piece shot on an iPhone, not knocking iPhones, love iPhones, but if you shoot it on that, it's not the same thing. And so I think a lot of mid-level businesses that could benefit from that are missing out. And so they were down, we shot it, it was great. Take a risk, that's the number 2 point. I want to talk about that a little bit more because there was another vendor on the property and they run a food truck and the matcha truck, and they are great people. They are super funny and charismatic and just amazing folks. But I was like, hey man, you guys want to shoot something too? And they were like, yeah. So I just asked them, tell me about the business. We shot some B-roll. It's a great piece too. So now they've got a piece. The other business has a pice. If you're not going to take a risk and you're not going to talk to people, you're not going to get anything done. So take a risk and do something. I talk about it in one of my, I was talking about it recently to somebody. And I was saying, like, if the idea in my head says, hey man, this is crazy, dude, that's probably the thing you should do because that's what's going to separate you from everybody else. I mean, you don't do what they're all doing. Otherwise, you're just going to be noise. Take a risk. And then the last thing is that be kind to yourself. We live in a crazy place. There's a bunch of false expectations, especially on this platform. You don't have this camera. You don't have this lens. You don't have this mic. You don't have this setup. You don't have a colorist. You don't have an editor. You don't have a blah, blah. You don't have a client. You know, like, dude, be patient with yourself, man. Like, the leaves do not rush, and yet the seasons change. The grass does not rush, and yet it grows and falls. Like, the waves come and they go. They do not rush. We are animals with electronics. And so be an animal. Be kind to yourself and say, hey, I'm going to get this edit done. I may not get it done as soon as possible, but it's going to get done. An instance of that in this is that when I was on site, I got stung by a bee. And I had been stung by bees before. I was a beekeeper out in LA when I lived there. And my hand had a weird reaction to it though, because that can happen over time if you haven't been exposed in a while and so on and so forth. And so my hand swelled up to about the size of a baseball glove. And so I'm flying back and I'm like, this is not okay. My ring didn't fit, my watch didn't fit on my wrist. Like, it was not okay. And so I went to the doctor and was like, yo, hook me up with some stuff to help. And they did, and it was great. But in that, be patient, because that little hiccup delayed my edit, right? Not just procrastination delayed my edit. That typically is what it is. But in this case, it wasn't procrastination. It was like, hey, look, I can't really do anything with this. I'm sleepy from all the Benadryl. Like, it was not a good place to edit for a client when you're on that kind of stuff. So be patient with yourself. Both the edits are done. I'm really proud of them. I hope you enjoy it and kind of see what I'm talking about with the lenses and the microphone. It gets a really, really cool feel. Enjoy.
You know, very rarely do we find someone when ask them what they want to be when they grow up. Do you hear them say, I want to be a beekeeper? And he puts his hand up on the drywall. He asked me to put my hand on the wall there, and he says, what's the difference between what you feel right in here and over in other parts of the wall? I said, well, it's a little warmer right here. La Reina, the queen. And like magic, 40, 50,000 bees follow her right into this box. I couldn't believe what I just saw.